Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Thursday, September 1st, and this is the MLB DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look back at yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out. Talking about my core plays for today. It is a very small 3-game slate overall, so make sure you're not spending too much money on this slate overall. And then going over to my top GPP stacks for today. At the time of this recording, my article is not yet published, but once that is available, I will leave a link to it down in the comments below. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. At the pitcher position, we had Garrett Cole at $11,100. Ended up with 31 points yesterday. Did give him a push. He was just not very good overall, but he wasn't bad at the same time. So could have done a little bit better there. Pitcher could have done a whole lot worse as well. Then at first base, who was kind of our pivot play since Salvador Perez got scratched last minute, right after the slate locked, but I did leave a note down in the comment, switch to Ty France. It was a pretty easy swap since they were the same price tag, and they started a little bit later as well. And obviously, as I mentioned, he was $2,900. Got to 9.5 points, so I did give him a hit yesterday. And then we had Bo Bichette at $3,300. Got to 0 points. He was a mess, and he went 0 for 4, unfortunately. Although he did have some pretty good history versus Luke Farrell going into the day. Then we had Gio Urshela at third base, $2,600, got to 9.2 points. So he was a hit as well. And then last but not least, we had Eric Haase, who was $2,500. You could play him at catcher, you could play him at outfield. He got to 12.4 points, so he was hit. Pretty good value play overall on yesterday's slate. So a little bit of a mix or match yesterday. We had some decent hits here. There was the one miss in Bo Bichette and then kind of the push in Garrett Cole. If you had some other good plays, you still had a chance to cash in. Otherwise, if you did not, maybe a little bit tougher day overall yesterday. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my core picks for today. As I mentioned, it is that small 3-game slate overall, so it's going to be a pretty interesting slate overall. So at the pitcher position, I have Spencer Strider at $9,900. Averaging just under 30 fantasy points per game on the season at this point in time. Part of the year he was a reliever though, so yeah, keep that in mind. Goes against the Colorado Rockies today. Very limited history versus them. Kind of wasn't the best start for him in that game, although it wasn't the worst either. A guy that offers some pretty good strikeout upside, so I do like him today. You could look up to Brandon Woodruff if you're trying to pay $600 more. We're down to Rich Hill, who's coming off a pretty good start. He faces Texas today, so there could be some upside there if you're looking to pay down, but he does also have some hit or miss history versus their hitters as well. Then we move down to second base. We got Colton Wong at $3,000, averaging just over 9 fantasy points per game on the season. Going against the Arizona Diamondbacks today, it's Merrill Kelly on the mound. He has 2 for 5 versus Merrill Kelly in his career, so there is a little bit of upside there today. Been starting to hit the ball a little bit better as of late, so definitely do not have any problem going back to Colton Wong once again today. At third base, we have Rafael Devers at $3,700, which is actually a little bit of a cheaper price tag for him. Averaging about 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Texas Rangers. It's Glenn Otto pitching today. He's 1 for 3 versus Glenn Otto in his career with a home run, so definitely does offer quite a bit of upside at a little bit of a discounted price overall today. Then at shortstop, we're going right back to Willy Adames. The one time we did play him this week was the only time he hasn't done well in about a week or so. So hopefully that trend continues where he's doing well and if we don't get the unlucky day once again. But he is 2 for 6 with 1 home run versus Merrill Kelly in his career, so there is some pretty good upside there as well. And then last but not least in the outfield, it's a third Brewer. We have Garrett Mitchell at $2,400, mainly just because he's a cheap play here. He's averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Can't take too much from that just since he's only played a couple games. He's probably bad at the end of the lineup once again, but does offer an interesting power speed combo, which does offer some pretty good upside in DFS overall. And obviously he has no history versus Merrill Kelly in the past. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $12,400 remaining, $3,100 per player. So you could potentially pay up for somebody if you want to today, find a couple other cheaper values, but looking a little bit more like a balanced build today. Maybe you pay down a pitcher and pay up for some hitters. Definitely a lot of different ways that you could play this slate. And since it's only a 3-game slate, you're probably going to have to get a little bit creative overall today. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my top GPP stacks for today. So since there's only 6 games, really only highlighting 3 of these teams. The Red Sox are going to be my number 1 overall. They're going against Glenn Otto. They have decent history versus him. The only time they faced him was earlier this season. I believe they scored 8 runs in that start versus Glenn Otto, so definitely some upside there. Brewers have pretty good history versus Merrill Kelly. He's pitched pretty well this year, though. He does still give up some hits, so there's definitely some upside there in terms of the hits department. Doesn't give up a lot of runs, though, so that's kind of the give and the take there. But you're going to have that on a 6-game slate when there's only so many options out there as well. And then the Braves versus Chad Cool, although they do not have the greatest history in the world versus him. If you were looking for another pay down option, probably getting a little bit different, you could look at Chad Cool today as well. But with that being said, these are my core 5 picks as well as top GPP stacks for today, September 1st. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player. The odds of that probably aren't too good on this small slate overall, but definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS, primarily MLB DFS at this point in time, but the NFL season's right around the corner. Going to be covering the NFL DFS side as well throughout this season, and then NBA DFS once we get back around to the regular season for that as well. And then with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up daily MLB DFS videos just like this. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.